feeling a lot of emotion as I introduce JB. I'll read you a little bit from her bio and then I'll share my own experience of her. In 2022, Lady JB was knighted for her humanitarian and entrepreneurial efforts by the Royal Order of St. Constantine the Great and St. Helen. Her humanitarian work includes building schools in Indonesia and other places, and creating the Ignite Humanity global movement and cycling thousands of kilometers for charity. Her humanitarian work was further rewarded in 2022 when she was given the Ignite Humanitarian Award at the Be Great Foundation. Lady JB combines purpose, passion, and possibilities in everything she does on her mission to ignite every life on the planet and create a ripple effect of change. She believes that when we tell our stories, we transform our lives. JB's desire is that we all tell our stories, share our Ignite moment, and come together in unity and harmony with the desire to raise the consciousness of humanity. Lady JB Owen is a fearless female leader, many-time best-selling author, empowerment publisher, global brand builder, award-winning businesswoman, celebrated humanitarian, and legacy mentor. Her entrepreneurial spirit and dedication to making a positive impact have led her to combine business and inspiration in an innovative way. Forbes magazine has dubbed Lady JB the heart-centered publisher. Entrepreneur magazine has called her a female entrepreneur determined to change the world. And Apple News added her name to their top 50 entrepreneurs to watch.
Oh.
I personally met JB a few years ago through the Women Gone Wild project and got to know her and appeared on her podcast and was gradually more and more impressed by her genuine care and passion for everything that she does. She has published many, many people's books. And one day I had struggled for years to finish my book, Expect Magic, and get it out there. I just didn't know what to do. And one day she said, well, why don't we do that together? And so she is publishing my book, Expect Magic. And she has a team of editors who are brilliant at drawing out of a writer their most deep and poignant thoughts. And she also knows how to make it all about the reader, which was something I've never given all that much thought to. So she's made the book much better than I could possibly have done. She is a very soulful woman. She celebrates life in amazing ways. She does cycle all over the world, and she's building schools in third world countries she's making them out of recycled plastic. So 45 minutes is not enough time for her to share all of her projects and her skills, but I just very deeply wanted you to know her and have her meet you. So please, JB, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be a little bit emotional. That was a beautiful introduction, and from one of the most beautiful humans on the planet that I know. Working with Diana has just been a true treat and blessing and an angel in my life. I always say that when you start to work on a book, you better get ready, because whatever that book is about, that topic, it's really going to come into your life and be a major influence. And so when Diana spoke to me about expecting magic, I said, okay, thank you, God. I'm ready. And every single time we talk, every chapter that I work on, I learned so much from her. And I learned so much about the power of our stories, the power of our influence, and the magnitude of our legacy. And many of the words shared already today, especially in the morning prayer, journey, joy, give, talents, gratitudes, that is all the markers and the makings of legacy. And there was such a beautiful line that said, our gifts are spilled endlessly onto the entire world. I thought that was powerful and really meant a lot to me in regards to legacy. Thank you, Diana. So I wanted to share with all of you. I know Diana was talking about interviewing me, but I'm happy to just jump right in and talk a little bit about legacy and a little bit about humanity. So, heavy on my heart, as always, is the plight of what's going on in the world and how things are changing. In 2020, of course, we all experienced COVID, and I had four children at home between the ages of 12 and 17. And I heard a lot of grumbles from them about the future, not really feeling connected to what was going on, not wanting to work very hard, and really feeling lackluster about what they were going to do with our lives. And I kept saying, you got to think about what's possible. You have to focus your mind on what you're capable of. You need to be innovative. You need to start thinking about the things that are going to change the world. And of course, like all teenagers, they just pushed back on me and said, well, Mom, what are you doing? What are you doing to change the world? What are you doing to be innovative? And that got me thinking. And so in Canada, we had sheltering in, we weren't allowed to go anywhere. We had a tandem bike sitting in the garage getting cobwebs on it. And I turned to my husband and said, would you like to cycle across Canada with me to show people what is possible, to teach people that you can have an idea and just get up off the couch and go after it one pedal at a time? I had just turned 50 that year. And of course, I wasn't allowed to do anything, have a party, go anywhere, do anything monumental. And I had gained about 16 pounds with sheltering in. And I wanted to prove to myself and others that you can just have an idea one day and go after it. You can just pick up and get up and decide you're going to do it. And so my husband and I, one day in July the 3rd, got on our tandem bike and cycled 5,000 kilometers across Canada to prove to people that anything and everything is possible. We recorded our trip, we Facebooked, we live streamed, we showed it to everybody. We even got pulled over by the police on our bicycle, telling us that we weren't allowed to be outdoors. And we sort of looked around in the middle of the Canadian prairies with no one within 50 miles of us and said, why do we have to not be outdoors? And he said, well, don't you know it's COVID? You might be sick. And I said, well, I'm cycling a bike 100 kilometers a day. I don't think I'm sick. And then he said, well, take your earbuds out of your ears. You're not allowed to listen to music. It was such an example to me about the idea of holding people back, about rules have to be enforced, about we're always needing to just be guided by this stringent law. And what I found was in cycling those miles, pedal after pedal, with my husband right in front of me, seeing the beautiful Canadian landscape and meeting the people. We met people in the gas stations who offered to give us food, who offered to invite us into their home, who offered for let us sleep in their on their land. We met people who bought us lunch. We met people who literally told us, "We have a cabin down the road. Here's the code. Go and stay there while you guys are cycling by." We had people stop on the middle of the road when we were just having a break or a snack to check and see if we were okay. We even stopped at a sign outside of a town to take a selfie, and a car pulled over off the highway and said, "Do you want us to take your picture for you?" Suddenly, humanity was just showing up in this beautiful and incredible way, even when we had been told to stay away from each other. And it was in that moment I was truly awakened to my desire to ignite humanity. We need to ignite humanity. We need to be sharing this camaraderie, this commonness, this beautifulness amongst each other. Of course, when I got back home, I Googled who's igniting humanity, and there was no one. There was not a single person. What woman on the planet is igniting humanity? And there was an Ignite makeup line, there was an Ignite conference earlier in the year, but no one was igniting humanity. And so I went to bed that night angry. Okay, God, why isn't someone igniting humanity? Why isn't someone making that their plight? How come someone isn't taking up the charge? And God said to me, I think you should stop complaining and do something about it. Maybe that person should be you. And I decided that it was going to be my mission to ignite humanity. And I woke up and thought, who's igniting humanity already? Who are people that are making a big difference? And that, of course, was the Dalai Lama himself. I spent 7 months trying to get to him, and finally I was invited to meet him. I flew to India. because I wanted the Dalai Lama to help me write my next book, Ignite Humanity, a giant compilation book to bring in 280 authors to write stories about igniting humanity. And I wanted His Holiness to be the forward writer. And so I was sitting in India at the Dalai Lama's temple, waiting to meet him. And I will be honest, it was a long wait. There's a lot of protocol. I had to be COVID tested. I had to all my vetting. I had to go through all these things. It was about 3 hours of waiting to see him. While I was waiting, something very magical happened. I started to think about asking him to write in my book and asking him to get on board with my initiative to ignite humanity. And I looked around and saw that he has his mission. He's in India. He is helping Tibet. He is speaking out for the world. He is on a mission of peace. It seemed a little trite for me to ask him to be a part of my book. And I realized that we all have our mission. So at that moment, I decided, you know what I want to do? I just want to reach out and touch his heart. I just want to feel the essence of who he is. I just want to, I just want to connect with him on a soul level, and I want to touch his heart. So when I finally went to meet him, I walked up to him, I took his hand, I kissed it, I bowed. They introduced me, Lady JB from Canada. And I stood up and I went to touch his heart. And his bodyguard immediately pulled my hand away. And the Dalai Lama looked at me and leaned forward, and we touched foreheads. And for that moment, he told me everything I needed to know. He didn't say a word. He just told me it all. My kids like to say he Bluetoothed with me. My son goes, Mom, you Bluetooth with the Dalai Lama. But in that moment of touching my forehead, he told me, you have everything you need within you. Just go and do the work. And so that message has stayed deeply within me. It has become a core of who I am. And now my mission is to tell everyone who will listen, you have everything you need in you. You have everything you need in you. All you have to do is do the work. And the work is not the WORK that we've been told to do. That means unhappiness and drudgery and repetitiveness. The work is about the wonder. It's about the openness. It's about the realizing. And it's about the kindred spirit that we make with each other. Go and do the work. And so now on this mission to ignite humanity, what I realized is I want to tell everybody that they have what they need within them, and they just have to do the work, and they can ignite humanity and make a big difference. And I was invited to speak at the UN, and I thought, what am I going to say at the UN? I can't just say like, hey, just go do the work. We all have it within us. We need some tangible, realistic answers. The UN's going to want something real. And so what I realized is what we all have within us is our story. One universal common denominator that every single person on the planet has is that we all have a story. There's nothing else that's common amongst us all. The only thing that is that we all have a story. And when we tell that story, we absolutely transform our lives. I was sitting on a plane beside a woman, and we didn't talk the whole entire flight. And then finally, near the end, she started talking to me. And so I asked her, well, what's your ignite moment? Because I believe we all have ignite moments, those moments that change everything in our lives, those moments that is that pivotal part. And I've been blessed to publish over 800 authors telling their ignite moments. And when I touched foreheads with the Dalai Lama, that was definitely an ignite moment, changed the trajectory of my life. And so I asked her what her ignite moment was, and she said she was on a plane flying to see her fathers that she hadn't seen since she was 3 years old. And finally, she was in her 40s. She decided she was going to find him. All she knew was his name, her mother's name, and his mother's name, and the town that he lived in. So she did some research and found out there was 26 Miguel Luises in that city. And she ran her finger down the list and stopped on one and phoned him and said, are you Miguel Luis? He said, yes. Is your mother's name Peggy? Did you marry a woman named Linda? And he said, yes. And she said, I'm your daughter. And that was an ignite moment. That was an absolute ignite moment. But what's more profound was when she told me that moment, I suddenly started to care for her deeply. I suddenly was connected with her. In fact, if that plane crashed, I was going to save her no matter what. And what was so fascinating was if she wouldn't have told me that Ignite moment, and I would have sat beside her for that 2 hour flight, and that plane would have crashed, I would have just saved myself. And I suddenly knew it. Stories, compassion, empathy, understanding, that common denominator amongst us all, that's what's going to ignite humanity. Because you can put two men in a room and they both have lost their son, and they could stand up and hug each other, even though one is from Ukraine and one is from Russia. You can take anyone in the world, and regardless of their skin color, their gender, how much money they have in their pocket, you share a story, and suddenly they are friends. The man on the street, the homeless person that you avoid, the moment you hear their story, what happens? You want to invite them into your home. That is the power of storytelling. And I believe that is truly what's going to ignite humanity. We all need to be telling our stories, because when we don't, we live in the shame and the blame, or possibly even the doubt of our own stories. Imagine this. Something happens to you in life. Somebody tells you you're not good enough, you're not okay, you don't have enough money, you'll never make it, and that becomes imprinted into your life. That ignite impact moment follows you throughout life, and you act a certain way because somebody told you something or something happened to you that you put a meaning upon, that you weren't good enough. And suddenly, later in life, you have an ignite transformation moment, which I know every single person here has had. A transformational moment where they know that's not my truth. And you can look back on it and assign a new meaning to decide, you know what? Yes, that did happen to me, but I'm going to be the hero of my story and make something of it. I truly am going to make a difference regardless of the path that I walked. Show of hands, anyone here have an ignite moment? Oh, not so many. Anyone here have an ignite moment? Let me see your hands. Yeah, that moment that changed you profoundly. And think about it, if your ignite moment could help someone else, if your ignite moment could pull somebody out of the quagmire of their life, wouldn't that be powerful to share? This leads into legacy. When we tell our story, we change our lives, but then we begin to change the lives of others. I have stories within my community of a woman who her husband was stung by a bee and was in a coma for 3 years and eventually passed away. And she remembers sitting at the kitchen table with her three kids after he'd been in a coma for many years, and they started laughing. Something funny happened at the kitchen table and they all started laughing, and then suddenly they stopped. They felt shame and sadness that they were laughing, knowing that her husband and their father was in the hospital. And she told me that that was the moment she realized that our hearts can have more than one emotion. We can be grieving and in pain, but we also can be happy and see joy. These are the kinds of moments that I love to talk about. I have another author, they're twins. Between them, they have 5 kids each, which means there's 10 grandkids. Their parents divorced when the twins were 17. For 21 years, the parents and the grandparents and the grandchildren have never been in the same room until they published their book with Ignite. And they had a big book launch. And for the first time ever, that entire family got together in the same room. And those two parents that divorced and didn't speak to each other for 21 years got to see their grandkids for the very first time all together. This is the power of storytelling. And this is the power of when you tell your story, you start to build a legacy. I don't know if I will ignite humanity entirely. But what I do know is the work that I do will turn the knob just enough to move the needle, to shift the trajectory ever so slightly, that you know what will happen over time. That will be a huge impact. Now, maybe I won't see it in my lifetime, but I know that in perpetuity it will happen for generations to come, because I decided at this moment I wanted to shift my life and shift the lives of others. I'm not sure if you love to do sharing or connecting, but I'm open to hearing if somebody feels their Ignite moment has helped them build a legacy. Think of the woman who lost her son to drunk driver, and then she started Mothers Against Drunk Driving International and has changed thousands of lives. Think about the girl who had her arm bitten off by a shark, and now she still is an athlete and has performed in great charities. There have people who have been assaulted, who have been raped, who have been gone through cancer, who have been cheated on and bankrupt. There are the most devastating stories we could imagine. I even have a story of one of our authors who was in a gang shooting, and someone shot his best friend who and was killed, and that other gang member went to jail for murder. And 11 years later, came out of jail and read my author's Ignite moment about that shooting and reached out to him for reconciliation. This is the power of storytelling. And this is the power of creating a legacy because those two guys who were once in a gang shooting that caused a murder, have now become friends and are trying to do work in the inner cities to help other kids stay out of gangs. That's legacy. Because if one kid stays out of a gang, and if they can save one kid from being murdered, they can change the trajectory of entire family. And that family can go and change the trajectory of their community. And that community can shift the things that are happening in that town. And so I would just love to share with you that you have everything you need within you. Of course, there's hardships. We all face hardships. In fact, think of this. This is a little JBism. I think that every single human emotion is written on a piece of paper and pinned to your birthday suit the day you were born. And you are meant to experience every one of those emotions: betrayal, sadness, defeat, but love and joy and courage and all those things. If every single emotion was here for you to experience because you said yes to being a human, then wouldn't that alleviate or obliterate blame and the feeling like something bad is happening to you or someone upstairs is trying to do something to you? You are just here to experience it all. You said yes to all those feelings. And so, wherever we are in our human experience, I just ask us all to realize this is just something we welcomed. We want to have this feeling, and now we want to move on. How can we take this feeling and all that we've experienced to help someone else? I'm currently doing an Ignite Humanity book because, well, I just love to do big things. So I want to set a Guinness Book of World Records with the largest compilation book ever written and put 280 amazing people into a book, all talking about how they had an Ignite moment to ignite humanity. And I know that that will become a new, I want to say, preservation of humanity in itself. We all know AI is showing up and taking over. And my mission now more than ever is to teach AI what humanity is about. Not what's on the news, not what's on social media, not what the rhetoric is. We need to be injecting these powerful humanity stories into AI to teach it what we believe in, what we stand for, who we are. And so now for me, the stories aren't just about helping others and entertainment and pulling people through a difficult time. Now these stories are going to create the litmus test for who humanity is and what AI believes we are about. Because if AI is regurgitating and assimilating everything we're telling it, what are we telling it? What are we showing it? Are we showing it the news? Are we showing it Saturday Night Live? Are we showing it Jimmy Kimmel? Are we showing it memes and things on TV, on social media, making fun of one another? Or are we showing it perseverance, dedication, tenacity, core values, work ethic, compassion, empathy, love, and perseverance? That to me is now the most important thing. We have the work to do. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has been inspiring. I hope this was exactly what you needed to hear today to remind you of your greatness. Diane and I have been talking about this beautiful thing that I have really felt called to share: consciousness tethering, tethering to the consciousness, tethering to the deeper understanding, tethering to the knowingness that yes, this human experience is full of all kinds of things, but that human experience is what is going to make humanity better. And so, whatever you have been through, it's beautiful. Whatever you're going through, it's magical. Whatever is unfolding, as Diana says, expect magic because it will bring greatness into your life. And if you have a story to tell, if you've been through something monumental, if you know your words can inspire someone else, I deeply invite you to reach out to me. I'd love for one moment, if I could, just screen share, because I'd really love to just play a little video of my mission and my goal. If that's allowed, I would love to just take a moment to do that. If I have screen sharing capability, yes, I
Sure, I
do.
will make you
I'm going,
co-host right now. Or maybe you can anyway.
thank you. Actually, I just have to close it because I know that I have to click that little button that says add sound. Oh, will this sound just work automatically, or is there a little thing oh, share sound? Thank you. I see it now.
Now, more than ever, we need to come together to connect with one another. We need to feel the truth in who we are and let go of everything that's happened in the past. We need to empower every person on the planet and awaken hearts, enliven souls, come together, laugh, play, rejoice, connect, create, and love. It's time to ignite humanity. We want you to be a part of something that will impact the future for everyone. We want you to tell your story, share your Ignite moment, show people who you truly are. Be a part of igniting humanity and making a difference in the world and all of our futures.
Sounds every time I hear that video. Super powerful and super amazing. I also would love to just share that I want to give you all access to one of the products that we wrote a book called Ignite Your Purpose. And I think a lot of people are aware of their purpose, but some people are not. And some people are redefining their purpose. This is a massive time of change. And so what I love to do is bring people together to be in compilation books. I think compilation is powerful. I think the curation of many people together is such a beautiful experience. We're on our 26th compilation book. And one of the ones we just did recently was Ignite Your Purpose. I'd love to share with you this QR code. And if you just open up your phone and take a little, put your camera on that QR code in the middle, that will open up to our Ignite Your Purpose book. Why I'm so proud of this one is because in the front of it, we put all these exercises and lines and places for you to write in the book to really uncover your purpose and define what your purpose is for you. We all have this insatiable desire to do more and give more. And as we walk through our lives and move through that beautiful phase of childhood and then selfishness and then self-serving and then ego and then monetization and materialism, and we grow and graduate into the knowingness of how we can do more and serve more, our purpose really becomes important to us. So if you'd love to access that book, it's my gift to you. You just click on that QR code. And then if any of you would like to connect with me, there's my QR code. I'd love for you to just have access to me. My goal is to help and create camaraderie. And if you need anything, ask. Let me be there for you. Let me share, let me support. You can find out more about the work that I do. I love building schools. And I can tell you a little bit more about that, but I just want to make my QR code accessible to any of you. And reach out to me and share what you're doing in the world. I have a TV show that I do that goes live out to um, of 109 countries, and I love to interview people that are making a difference in humanity and who have a wonderful story. If you'd like to be on my TV show, that's 100%. There's no cost to it. I just, like all of you, want to be in this magnanimous place of serving. And I love stories and I love hearing people's journey. And so I love to support one another. Rena, you have your hand up. Would you like to speak? Sorry,
Rena,
we
you're
can't hear you.
muted.
Rena, you're still on mute. Thank you. I would like to jump in and speak because I'm so inspired. And part of me was thinking, oh, but I'm not big and I'm not famous. Uh, and I would like to share my igniting moment that happened when I was 4 years old. And this was like a few weeks after the Six-Day War in Jerusalem. At the age of 4, I experienced, the experience of war and bombs falling. And after 6 day, the city I lived in, where there was a border in the middle of the city, like there was Jordanian soldiers behind barbed wire protecting the old city of Jerusalem. And after this crazy war, we were able to go into this ancient walled city, which I only saw from the distance. Anyway, so it was very exciting. We were all, kind of going to see what that city is like. And as we walked, it was a hot day, and I needed to pee, and my mother said, "Oh, go behind the garbage cans of some home, just pee there." And I just finished peeing, and my underwear is down, and I'm about to get up to pick up my underwear, and I see a face looking at me through a window. I peed, in someone's home behind, uh, and it was the enemy. We just kind of won. I was in someone's space. It was a girl who was looking at me. She was about my age, and she was looking at me with such piercing eyes of hate. And I got it. Here I am in her space. I just peed in her territory. We're the people who were just pouring into this old city, and like and I was like, I felt it. And again, like you talked about the download, like without any words, there was a shame.
Yes.
There was like, oh my gosh. And I saw the hate, and I was frozen. I couldn't step. I couldn't even pick up my underwear. It was mesmerizing. And I asked myself, what can I do with this moment? And the only thing I could do is pour love into these eyes, and you realize she's like me. She has family like me. She wants to play like me. And that moment changed my
Mm,
life. And I apply this principle to everything I do. When I feel, oh, there's another, or there's adversity, I just remember her eyes, and thinking, we want the same thing, really. When it comes down
mm,
to it, we all want safety, you know, and to experience life. So
mm.
this girl has been my teacher.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. What a beautiful, beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. See how powerful, intuitive we are, even at a little age. We just know what we know, and that knowingness was so deep in you. And many people have said to me, like, I didn't think I had a story. I didn't think my story was important enough. I didn't think my story was big enough. My story wasn't gritty enough. It's not true. It's not true. I was going through a divorce, and I was at the airport leaving, and I saw a man and a woman saying goodbye to each other, and he put the sign of the cross over her and kissed her forehead. And I was like, I want that. I want a relationship like that. So small, powerful moments can make big impact, and big, powerful moments can make big impact. So thank you for sharing. I love that. I actually, interestingly enough, our next compilation book is Ignite Impact. It starts as October 28th. And so I was just thinking, like, that's an impact moment that has made you live your life differently. And so please share. We all have a beautiful story. Thank you. Thank you. I know that Ruth put her hand up. Is it okay? Do I have time to ask a few more? Great. Go ahead,
Yes, you're
Ruth.
good.
Good morning. Good morning. Is it too early to say I love you?
No, not at all. I
I,
always tell people I have such love affairs with my
I
authors.
have to say that it's quite remarkable because last night I was having dinner with two friends and I described what you were talking about going through life, having all these different experiences. The soul wants to know everything in almost the same, I mean, just a few variations. And I think that consciousness is really available for everyone. And that's one of the things, not
Yes.
just our stories, but that's one of the things that binds us when we understand about the soul journey that we're having here. And we look at another person and we know they've been here before, we've been here before, maybe we've even been before together, but in a different arrangement. And it's very exciting to meet a kindred spirit that feels that way. And I want to bless you for the work you do in the world. And just briefly share that my first, and it's possible to have more than one Ignite a moment. And my first one
Absolutely, yes.
was when I was 18 years old at university, and I was an all A student, and I was not allowed to live on campus. And I was told I would need to see the head of admissions, and I couldn't understand why. And then he told me that I should consult with my rabbi, that maybe I could live with a Jewish family. And of course, I had never mentioned that I was Jewish, and I didn't understand why he would be worrying about he said, for dietary reasons. And that was the moment the world changed for me, when I understood what anti-Semitism was. And it changed my life. It did. And I ended up traveling around the world and living with families all over, trying to discover, why would someone harbor that kind of feeling when they don't even know you? You know, why would that? And so, and been involved in peace work, and now I'm writing a musical that has to do with honoring and celebrating our cultural and religious diversity, and seeing the humanity in all of us. So I really applaud and appreciate you, and thank you, Diana, for bringing Lady JB.
Thank you. I applaud and appreciate you, and I just want to acknowledge that moment. Often our Ignite moments can be so heart-wrenching and really rip at the fabric of who we are. But what they're asking of us is to jump the chasm. When I was 12 years old, my dad told me to put a bag on my head because he didn't like the way that I looked. I was kind of funky and wanted a mohawk and wore blue lipstick. And he said, "I'm embarrassed to go anywhere with you. I wish you would just put a bag on your head." And at 12, that wasn't funny. At 12, that scarred my whole life of how I showed up, or how I actually didn't show up, because I was the kid I should just have a bag on my head. And it wasn't until I was 40 that I realized, I had that Ignite moment, that that wasn't really what he meant. Even if it wasn't meant to hurt me. That's just the way he is. And his shortcomings were embarrassed. He couldn't handle my bigness, my vivaciousness, my willingness to be seen. He didn't want to be seen. And so he wanted me to put a bag on my head because he was embarrassed to be seen. But it took me 28 years to figure it out. And for a long time, I was really angry at him and didn't even speak to him until I realized, thank God he told me to put a bag on my head, because what it did was it taught me to realize that every single person on the planet deserves to be seen. And it made me become the person I am today, to fight for your story, Ruth, and your story, Rena's, and every single person's story, because everybody deserves to be seen. And so, no longer angry at him, appreciative of that lesson that God said, boop, you can handle this. You can carry this load. You can be the person to take this mission forward. And this is going to be the fuel that you need to do it. And so I resonate with your story so much. That pain and that hurt and that unfairness and that ridicule, ostracization, all of that was given to you so that you could write a musical, so that you could travel the world, so that you could speak to all the people that need to hear it. And so the load that we carry, folks, is not the 747 strapped to us that we have to pull across the tarmac, right? We've all seen the strong man trying to pull the 747 across the tarmac, just that little inch. The truth is, you don't have to pull that 747 across this tarmac. You have to stand up and take off the harness, because it's the harness on you that's holding you back. And it's so much easier to take off the harness than to pull the 747 across the tarmac. And so beautiful, Ruth. Thank you for sharing your story. All of our stories are just the fuel to the fabulous. They're really the fuel to the fabulous in you. Yes, Paul, please go ahead.
So my story is, my father, I'm from England, and my father was in World War II. He was a tail gunner. and very tough man, been through a lot in his life, poverty, and we decided to immigrate to America, and he bought this farm, apple orchard. And for those of you who haven't grown up on a farm, it is very, very difficult
Hard.
as a young boy. And but I was at college and I was a student of English literature, and I decided to write a poem. It was called In Michigan on the Farm. And so I had my mom and dad on the phone, and I decided to read that to them. And so I did. I read it to them and about how beautiful it was to be growing things. And I won't read the whole poem, it's pretty long. But my father just started sobbing uncontrollably. I never seen him cry like that with compassion. And so I became a poet. I've written 4 or 5 books of poetry, and I recite them and use them to inspire people. So that's my story.
How beautiful. How absolutely magical and beautiful.
Hmm.
So many times people around us don't know how to speak their feelings or share, and their tears are message enough. And sometimes people don't know how to receive our stories. Sometimes people don't know how to give us the acknowledgement that we need. But I know your father it changed his life, that poem. Maybe he never said it, and maybe he never acknowledged you, but he did it. He was a different person because of that. And now imagine the millions of people who are different because they get to read your poetry. Beautiful. Ignite moment, impact, impacting humanity. See, this ripple effect is so incredible. One person helps another person, and that person helps 5 people, and those 5 people help 50 people. I mean, it's really, really powerful. Martha, yes, your turn.
I'm so pleased to meet you, Lady JB. I'm so glad I was here to listen. I identify with so much that you were saying. So I've been a writer for many, many years, and I write a lot of other people's stories, and I've been thinking more about writing my own, or, how to make that work. But also, I love compilation books, and so I contribute to them anytime I can. But last, I wanted to say, you repeated something that I like to say to clients at a counseling center where I volunteer. And that is that it's like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. You've had the power within you always. It's always been there. You just didn't know it. So I love that when you say that.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I love that you're a writer and kindred spirit in compilation books. I would love to leave you all with this. I've been very, very blessed to publish over 800 people, and I have read and walked with and held hands with and spent time with every single one of my authors. In fact, when we had our company analyzed by, a financial wizard, he said, "You're spending way too much time with your authors. You should stop reading every single one of those stories." And I said, why would I do that? Why would I ever stop spending every single moment possible with my authors, reading every single word, hearing their voice, getting teleported into their experience, channeling that moment with them, feeling those tears and that emotion? That's why I do what I do. And I've been able to really understand that when authors tell me their story, when Paul and Ruth and Rena, you're all sharing your story, we're teleported into that moment with you. Did anyone feel that? Like you get to be transported into that moment with them. You get to feel what they were feeling. And that is a really, really powerful thing. It really is for me, this new words that I've been sharing with Diana, the genesis of consciousness. See, lots of people are regurgitating, and I think I can share this with this community because you guys will get it. There is great books that are just repeat, rinse and repeat. There are great ideas that are just slightly tweaked to sound like something different. But if we really think about it, there are great masters in our history that have tapped into something way bigger. And it's up there in the Genesis consciousness, I believe. Plato, Hippocrates, and Einstein. there are people who have tapped into this great consciousness awareness. And I think more than ever, the great one is asking us to climb that ladder of our knowingness, to reach that place, to dip into that consciousness to create something new for humanity. And it's a calling. And it's just like climbing a ladder. It's a little bit scary the higher and higher you go. But the truth is, if we can all awaken to this new idea of new thinking, new thoughts, thoughts we haven't thought before, tethering into the consciousness when you're sleeping, when you're meditating, when you're running, when you're in the shower, whatever that is, really dialing into something bigger than what you already know, to pull it down, to bring it to humanity. As a publisher, I have such a responsibility of creating books that are going to speak to the masses for what the masses need, not books that are so high level that only a few people can understand it. Books that are going to help the people who are hurting, the people who are lost, the people who don't know what they don't know. And so that's really what's been brought to me very strongly recently, is how powerful it is that we can tap into that consciousness and bring it forth for others. I'm so very, very grateful. I do build houses, our schools, out of recycled plastic pulled from the landfills. We've built 2 schools in Indonesia, and I just have to share, the factory is in Indonesia that builds the blocks. And so I said to them, hey, I want to build schools in other countries. Can you help me? And they said, no, we don't export our blocks. We just use them in Indonesia. So I decided to come up with an idea. We now are taking cargo containers and putting all the blocks and the windows and the doors and the roof and everything needed inside a cargo container, along with solar panels and a desalination unit, and shipping those schools all over the world. That is possible. Anywhere a truck can go and carry a cargo container, they can now take an inspiration classroom. And it's what's so fascinating is when the classroom gets there, they just need a 60 by 40 cement pad. And in 11 days, they can build a 2-classroom school that holds 80 kids. And when that school is finished, we take the cargo container, we attach it to the back, and we make a boys and girls bathroom and a desalination unit so kids can take clean water home. And so now we're just super excited that Inspiration Classrooms is really starting to now the ability to make something that wasn't possible. And so whenever anyone says it's not possible, you now know it is possible. Anything and everything is possible. Last year, I cycled from Canada to Mexico to raise money for charity. The year before that, I cycled from Vancouver to Newfoundland, 79 days across Canada, 10,000 kilometers. Biking is now my favorite thing. I'm going to cycle next year the entire continent, Mexico to Alaska. And just keep raising awareness and money for charity for our school, and keep meeting those people along the road that are truly igniting humanity. Thank you for letting me be here. Thank you so much. I really feel blessed because talking about humanity, Genesis consciousness, tethering to the consciousness, awakening to what's new, this isn't for everyone, but stories are. Everyone understands a story. And if we can pull people forward a little bit by sharing their story to awaken their compassion for one another, everyone can move forward a little bit more. I thank you for your time. I bless you dearly with the work that you do, the hands you use to make things happen. May I bless those and just give you the absolute seed of knowing that you are magnificent, you were born magnificent, God made you magnificent, and you have magnificent things to do on this planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.